Let's talk about the difference between big innovative changes to our product and small incremental improvements, and the kinds of research that you might need in order to make these changes. We'll start with the incremental improvements because that's really what the most frequent kinds of changes that we make as designers and researchers. While we all like to talk about designing things from scratch or making huge sweeping changes, the vast majority of people spend a lot of their time working on existing products and making them a little bit better every day. So imagine you're building your new job marketplace to connect job seekers with potential employers. The product works, it's out in the real world, being used by folks to find jobs every day. It's great, you made a thing that people are using for money. Now, your product manager is looking at the metrics and they notice that a bunch of people are signing up and looking at jobs, but they're not applying for anything. Your job is to figure out why. So what do? You can go ahead and pause the video and think about it for a minute if you want. There are a lot of different options you could go with here, but at the very least, you're going to want to figure out the following things. Where are people stopping in the process, and why are they stopping there? You'll probably want to dig into metrics a bit and figure out if folks do anything besides just look at jobs. Do they fill out their profile? Do they look at job details? Do they click the apply button? And then do they give up at that point, or do they never actually even get to that point? Once you know where they're giving up, you'll probably do some simple observational testing of actual users to see what's happening when they do drop out. You'll probably also want to talk to them about why they're not applying. Maybe you'll find out that they get frustrated because they can't find jobs in their area. Well, that'd be great, because that's really easy to fix. If that's the problem, maybe you can try letting them search for jobs near them. That's an incremental change. Now, what do we mean by that? It doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't have a big impact on metrics. Things like this can be hugely important for your metrics. If you manage to get lots more qualified candidates to apply to jobs, that's a huge win for the employers who are looking for great employees, and it doesn't matter that it was just a simple button that you added. But it's not a wildly innovative change. In fact, it's a pretty standard feature on most job boards, and it's a very small improvement in terms of engineering effort, or at least it should be. If it isn't, there may be something wrong with your engineering department, which is a totally different course. This change is improving an existing flow rather than completely changing how something is done or adding a brand new feature. Okay, now imagine that you're doing some observational research with your job applicants and you learn that for whatever reason, they really don't have very much access to computers or they're not used to typing on a keyboard. This might lead to a very different sort of change than just, searching for jobs in their area. Rather than making a small incremental improvement to a search page, you might have to come up with an entirely different way for candidates to apply for jobs. Maybe they need to film themselves using their phone cameras. This is a much larger change. It's less incremental since you're probably going to have to change or at least add a major feature to the entire job application process. You'll probably have to change how job seekers get reviewed by potential employers as well, since they'll be reviewing videos rather than text resumes, which they might not be used to. This is a big change, but it's still incremental because it's not really changing what the product does. It's just finding a new way to do the thing that it already did. Okay, now, let's say that you have the option to do some really deep ethnographic research with some of your potential job applicants. You run some contextual inquiry sessions with them, or maybe you run a diary study to understand all of the different jobs that they look at and learn why they are or aren't applying. Maybe in these deeper, more open-ended research sessions, you start to learn that the reason that a lot of potential job applicants drop out is because they just don't have the skills for the necessary jobs. But what can you do about that? Well, our only options are either to find different applicants, find more suitable jobs, or create some way to train our users in the skills that they need for the kinds of jobs that are available. All of those are really pretty big, risky ventures, but they just might be what we need to do to get more applicants into jobs. These are very big, and a couple of them are fairly innovative changes. If the company pivots into, say, trainings and certifications or assessments, that definitely qualifies as innovation, at least for your product. But how does the research change for finding each of these sorts of things? Couldn't you have found out that applicants aren't qualified with the same types of research that you used to learn that they wanted to search by location? Maybe. Sometimes we find all sorts of things in very lightweight usability type testing, but more often we find bigger, more disruptive things in deeper kinds of research, things like contextual inquiry, diary studies, or longer-term relationships that we build with our customers. Also, bigger, more disruptive changes often require us to do more in-depth research just to make sure that we're going in the right direction, because the bigger it is, the more risky it is. Let's say we ran some simple usability testing on the application process. That would mean we'd give applicants a task to perform, like find a job and apply to it. What might we learn from that? Well, that's the place where we'd learn if there were any bugs or confusing parts of the system. Basically, can somebody apply for a job? It takes more of a real conversation with a real user or a potential user to learn why they're not applying for jobs. It's not that one kind of testing is better than the other, it's that you can learn very different things with the different types of testing. Some types of research tend to deliver more in-depth learnings that can lead to big breakthrough changes, while other types of research tend to lead to smaller, more incremental, but still quite useful and impactful changes. Both are extremely useful in Agile teams, but you may find that the latter is more common just because many Agile teams don't really know how to schedule those big, longer-term types of research studies, while running quick usability testing on existing software is quite easy and can even often be automated.